27th time I've been arrested. I ain't going to jail no more.
No more!
We want black power.
We want black power!
Beg the president. We beg the federal government. That's all we've been doing. Begging and begging. Every park in Mississippi ought to be burned down by
the ground.
Dirt and mess. From now on, when they ask you what you want, you know what to tell them.
We want black power! Umgowa, black power!
On June 16, 1966, in Greenwood, Mississippi, Stokely Carmichael addressed a crowd of 600 sweat-soaked, mostly black organizers. He was only 24 years old, but that speech changed the civil rights movement.
Sometimes I wish that man would just shut up and listen.
Excuse me, Grandma, but who are you? Why should he listen to you?
Some people call me Fundi, the Swahili word for master. My given name is Ella Baker. I was organizing when that boy was still in diapers. If you don't believe me, ask Dr. King.
Miss Baker, so good to see you again. Allow me to introduce to you one of our white friends, Hazel Brandon Smith. She owns 4 little newspapers right here in Mississippi.
Well, thank you for supporting our cause.
I'm ashamed to admit it, but I began my career as a segregationist. I used to support Jim Crow. But after I interviewed a black woman whose husband had been killed by 5 white men, and the court charged me with contempt of court,
It opened your eyes real fast.
Ms. Baker, I remember you now. You organized the SNCC conference at Shaw University in April of 1960.
1960, that was quite a year. Black college students sat down in a lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina and ordered coffee. After they were refused service, they refused to leave. After that, there were sit-ins happening all over the South. This was a nonviolent tactic we used to call attention to Jim Crow and segregation.
I taught students at Shaw University to develop a leadership organization. Not like Dr. King's leader-centered group, but group-centered leadership. Do you see the difference? Participatory democracy.
But Dr. King was leading the nation. He was the moral force that compelled us to action.
Miss Smith, it's not a good idea to tell Miss Baker.
You want to talk about the nature of leadership? Do you think it's a good idea to hand off the movement with someone with feet of clay? I've served as Dr. King's field deputy, and even though I have the utmost respect for his eloquence and political power, he didn't make the movement made him. Strong people do not need strong leaders. I believe in youth development.
See, I tried to persuade Ella to bring her students in under our umbrella, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference.
Dr. King, sometimes you just don't get it. These students don't need marching orders. They are perfectly capable of figuring out how to lead the way into the future.
They formed their own organization, SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. Which brings us back to Stokely Carmichael. Dr. King, I guess you weren't the only one who didn't get it.
You're right. She was on Stokely's case, too.
Miss Baker and I go way back.
If God hadn't given you so much charm, I'd have killed you a long time ago.
Miss Ella, please. You're the nonviolent one.
And you were nonviolent too, in the beginning.
We believed in nonviolence. They were the terrorists. I started my freshman year of college at Howard in 1960, and as soon as my final exams were over, I joined the Freedom Riders. And before I knew it, I was in Mississippi.
You were arrested. You spent your birthday in jail.
Ma'am, I was born in jail. But I met Ella Baker. She was incredible. I became an activist and registered thousands of black voters.
You were very effective, so effective that you did just what Miss Baker didn't want you to do. You became famous.
Because I was angry. The only thing we could do was get ourselves arrested. They were bombing us, assassinating us, posing us, and sticking the dogs on us. The FBI was in cahoots with Bull Connor and the Ku Klux Klan, and all we could do was sing in our jail cells.
We shall not be moved. We shall not.
Stokely, you have to understand one thing. The beauty of nonviolence is that you never let an outside force control what you do. Bull Connor said, turn the fire hoses on. But Bull didn't understand. There's a kind of fire that no water can put out.
My brother, I promise you, I will not allow myself to be used.
It's kind of ironic that you were elected head of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, just as you began to have doubts as nonviolence as a strategy.
Nonviolence is not a strategy. It is a moral way of life. 40 of us lost our lives insisting that we would not cave into violence. We ranged in age from 11 to 66. 8 were white, 32 were black.
By 1960, it was no longer about violence or nonviolence. Our vocabulary changed. We talked about Black power, resistance, self-defense, the Black Panthers, by any means necessary.
And then, in 1968, Dr. King was assassinated. And you said,
Dr. King accepted the uncivilized behavior of white Americans, their unceasing taunts, and he still had forgiveness in his heart. Unfortunately, I'm from a younger generation. I'm not as patient or merciful as Dr. King. Your unwillingness to deal with him just means you have to deal with us and the younger generation.
but why did you decide to exclude white people? You need us. When we march with you, the white majority is forced to pay attention. Just look at the march in Washington.
That attitude is exactly why. Whites coming from the Black community never look at the power structure, which is what keeps this mess in place. You say that you want to help, but then you say change can only come through Black unity, which is the worst kind of paternalism. If we want true liberation, we must cut ourselves off from white people.
Without Dr. King, we became militant. We told our white friends to get out.
But we still have a choice. Today, in 2018, white supremacy has made a comeback. Once again, we must choose violent coexistence or nonviolent co-annihilation.
Black Lives Matter.
If Black lives don't matter, the violence will escalate.
Friends, before I apply the lessons of the past to 2018, I'd like to summarize our conversation. We've examined 3 points of conflict within the Black Power movement between 1960 and 1968.
1. Charismatic individual leadership versus shared leadership. I held to my ideal of participatory democracy even while I compromised by promoting the works of Dr. King and Mr. Carmichael.
2. Black power versus nonviolence. In 1965, I disagreed fiercely with Mr. Carmichael. Before I died, I agreed that we don't just want freedom and equality, we want power. But I never agreed that we should pursue it by any means necessary.
3. The inclusion of white people in the Black Power movement. I had to kick them out of SNCC because of the power structure thing, but I found a way to include them with my use of pronouns. Remember, I was speaking all over the country. When I addressed the audience, I said we. I was inclusive. They understood.
There are many other points of conflict within the Black Power movement. For instance,
Ms. Smith, I'd like to point out that even though you are white, you too were bombed, burned, and boycotted.
honey, when I saw that burning cross in my yard, I just about dirtied my knickers. And it broke my heart when they burned my press room. But the worst thing was when they used their power structure. Stokely was right, at least about that. The hate campaign wore me down, and the boycott destroyed my business.
Well, you're a lot like me in that you prefer to operate out of the limelight, but you won a Pulitzer Prize in 1964.
My segregationist views changed with the world around me, but I never compromised my goal of telling the truth. New leaders will arrive, and they will not be as moderate, patient, or understanding of the white folks' position.
Right on, my sister.
And now we need to close.
Here we are, once again, a nation divided.
We must put our faith in the next generation, and they might yet
Learn from our history.